Evening all, welcome to Good Chats. Another Wednesday night at 8:15 p.m. We do this every Wednesday night at 8:15 p.m. So welcome to all the regulars, and welcome to all the people who just saw this in their YouTube feed and might have stumbled across it for the first time, and welcome to all the replayers as well. G'day JK, first cab off the rank. Steve Klink, as always, thank you sir for being such a stalwart supporter. Luke's fishing in the Northern Territory, enjoying the tropical weather up there and hopefully avoiding crocs. And O'Malley Tours back from Victoria, I'm guessing. Anyway, welcome aboard. Jeremy, I've never been to Junee, and apparently it's, I can see by the images that it's got some excellent railway history there. And if it's got a chocolate factory, that's even better. So again, this is what we do on Good Chats. We talk about general chit-chat. We talk about railway history, because that's kind of what my channel's become about here on Outdoors Type. We talk about some of the outdoors-related things and some of the crossovers that we all have. And of course, a lot of people here on the chat are YouTubers themselves, and I'll always encourage you to go check out their channels. So here we are for another Wednesday night. I was going to find out, as usual, what everyone's been up to this week, or what you're going to get up to. So happy birthday for this Saturday coming, JK. I hope you have a great day out there at Junee. I'm really looking forward to getting there one day too. So yeah, let us know what you've been up to, and we can talk about that for a little while. I was going to talk a little bit about the Walking SA posts that I've done over the last couple of weeks, which are interestingly railway related as well. They've had a big response. I've been spending a bit of time talking to Max Hobby over on my Outdoors Type Facebook page through Messenger there, and I've got some great information from Max, which I'm working on turning into a script. I'll run through that, and I'll show you some of the images of the of the advertising for railway refreshment rooms, and I always love looking at old school graphics because I'm also a graphics nerd, a bit of a font nerd, and I love looking at typefaces and layouts and all that kind of thing, particularly back in the manual days. Now, Andy, that goes. Welcome aboard, by the way, Andy. I started Outdoors Type because at the time I'd been involved in the outdoors retail industry for well over a decade. And my original plan was to do like tent reviews or camping chair reviews or that kind of thing. And then I realized after I'd left the industry that doing all these reviews was going to require me buying an awful lot of stuff. And so, yes, all my life I've generally gotten outdoors. If you count being outdoors in the Flinders Ranges, flying a drone around, or hanging around by railway bridges, or exploring deserted railway stations out in the country, then yeah, I'm outdoors a lot. And a lot of my trips as well, I will also go camping. So I'm hanging on to my camping gear for when the weather warms up a little bit. It saves me a bit of money when I'm out there on the road to use powered sites rather than stay in 5-star resort poolside accommodation all the time. G'day, John. Welcome aboard. Thank you for coming on board again. And g'day to Make It or Break It. Haven't acknowledged you out there for a little while, but always glad to have you on board too. After that, we're going to talk about Max's words. I'll talk about the Quorn project a little bit. That's been progressing over the course of this week. And I want to talk about the project that I did for the former Quorn Station Master, where I got all my videos together and put them together. Then we'll do the book of the week, and then we are outie. So, yeah, that's the layout for this week. So hopefully, replayers, if you're interested in any of that stuff, hang around for the next 25 minutes or so, and we'll run through it all. Yeah, Andy, it is the best time to explore. I read something today, though, about a green drought happening down in the southeast. And I know that you're down the southeast way. And so even though it's looking really green down there at the moment, apparently they're still experiencing a bit of a drought. Maybe you could shed some light on that. Those of you who follow Outdoors Type, those of you who follow the esteemed Kane's Trains and the like, who's been kind enough to share some of the walking essay posts that I did, talking about no footy for some teams. G'day, Max. No one's called me Hi Mike for at least, 30 years or so. The response to those posts about the closure of the, I guess you could call it ad hoc railway crossing between Sheoak Road at Belair and the upper trails of Belair National Park has elicited a huge response. And interestingly enough, being involved with some of the people who are actively advocating for a railway bridge or some kind of safe crossing there. I'm involved also seeing the correspondence with some of the groups. And so while we got huge engagement right across Facebook and wherever it was shared, on Instagram as well, for some of the posts, and LinkedIn for what it's worth, it's very interesting that I learned that one of the groups who put on a rally actually door-knocked all the residents along Sheoak Road and in the immediate area, and not one single one of the residents wanted to be involved in the rally. So I guess the residents don't seem to care whether it's closed or not, which is interesting. Andy says we fed out to our stock a lot longer than usual, finally improving now. Okay, well, hopefully, yes, because from what I read in the paper, it'd be live or die for some of the farmers' businesses. So fingers crossed for y'all down there in the Green Triangle. Or is it the Green Triangle up? Or does the Green Triangle go all the way up to Narracourt and that area? I'm not sure really. So yeah, Max, I mentioned earlier, and I forgot to open it up, the information that you sent me on the refreshment rooms, and how I'm sort of working up a bit of a script on it. So I've just been tidying it up a little bit, and I've also got some of the images that Max sent as well. So that's going to be the slideshow this week. Let's just bring that up and get, although there's some images of Coffs Harbour in there as well. So we'll talk about that too at a certain point. So what I'll have to do is just organise for this thing to go backwards, not forwards. Let me just work out how I'm going to do that. Go to the end. Oh no, that's also Coffs Harbour. I'll get there in the end. There we go. So just a bit of preliminary research, I guess. Let me bring that one up. I'm not sure how big that is to people on the screen here. Hopefully it is a reasonable size. That's good. No, that's really good that the stock are selling better. I'd be interested to know what the supermarkets did. There's also a lot of talk about breaking the power of that duopoly at the moment. I'm guessing that you are on the receiving end of some of the poor treatment that the supermarket duopoly tends to put out. Yes, I did see those photos of Roto, so that reminds me, we'll run through that gallery as well. I've just got to open it up. So yeah, I love how old graphic design and old typography really just got straight to the point, and it told you, it just said exactly what the message was. There was no messing around, you know. And back then, I guess cafeteria cars and refreshment rooms were all about, you know, the modern way of eating, and, you know, traveling on trains and eating on trains and whatnot was, you know, the way to go. And was incredibly modern back then, and hygienic, as we're about to see. So there's sort of a photo, I guess, of the Adelaide railway station dining room. No, these were actually attached to the stations and were part of the stations. And I'll tell you a little bit about that story. Right, okay. So Max says here, you know, he gave us a list of all the refreshment rooms as of 1954. And they were the Adelaide Station cafeteria, the Adelaide Station formal dining room, the Overland Tavern bar on the platform level, and that's now been revamped as a Sky City Casino restaurant, let's face it, called The Guardsman. Very big, noisy place. But yeah, full of, again, fonts, which is great because I'm a font nerd. They've really worked hard to recreate the vibe of the old tavern bar, I guess you could say, but bring it into the 21st century. And then there's Mount Barker had a refreshment room. Murray Bridge had a refreshment room. I've got some photos somewhere of the team who ran those refreshment rooms, and so as I continue my research here, I'll collect up more photos. Karoonda had a refreshment room. Allawoona, Wolseley, Narracourt, Riverton, Tarawi, Peterborough, Balaclava, Gladstone, Bowmans, huge old station out there. Port Pirie Junction, Quorn had a refreshment room. Eurelia had a beautiful old refreshment room. Quite surprising, some of the photos I've seen of that refreshment room and the people around it, given how remote the location is. Morgan and Kapunda, which was apparently the first to close. Moving right along to the next photo. And this is what killed all the refreshment rooms, was the railway cafeteria car, which operated on certain trains between Adelaide, Port Pirie and Tarawi. And of course, all served under modern hygienic conditions. And so this is an example I found on the State Library's image collection of a refreshment room, apparently dated in the early 1900s. nobody's been able to locate it yet. So I am on a bit of a search. So if anyone wants to have any guesses as to where this long gone refreshment room might be, because there's no information online as to where that image came from. So a lot of the other refreshment rooms were basically counter refreshments. They had cakes, pies, pasties that were baked at the Adelaide railway station. They had cold drinks, they had alcohol and cigarettes, of course, dispatched from Adelaide station as ordered in sealed refreshment room bags. And they were delivered by train, obviously, to the various locations. And then the Max goes on to say the Adelaide dining car was also used on special charters, including weddings, parties and tours, and was a standby car for when the cafeteria car wasn't available for the Port Pirie services. Interesting, Max might know the answer to that, but these were like refreshment rooms. Maybe that deli down by Taparoo was considered a refreshment room. But we won't talk about that episode that happened this week, poor bugger. Catering staff were supplied to the cafeteria car services between Adelaide and Port Pirie. And also the Bluebird rail cars eventually had buffets with waitresses en route. And essentially, Max says that these on-train refreshments basically brought about the closure of all the country stops because I'm guessing back in the day, train trips were long, and rather than serve meals on board, the captive audience on board the train were delivered to these refreshment rooms, all shuffled off the train, got an oval pie and a cream bun and a coffee or something, and then all hopped back on the train and continued on their way. Apparently they were quite renowned, and they also did the official government catering at Parliament House and Government House. Might need to find out a bit more about head chef Hugo, was the last man in charge before all closed in the 1970s. Port Lincoln division, and this is what we, Max and I reckon, is an image of, is one of the refreshment rooms either at Cummins, or Wadena or Wirrulla. I hope I pronounced them right. Yeah, Alawoona, I reckon, was pretty busy because that's where you had the Pibinga line and the Loxton line and the Barmera line, all go out from there. The Maru or Yingkanni line. So there's some interesting history at Karoonda, and I think some of the most interesting history is at the Pioneer Park, which is actually off the main road. You actually go looking for it. It's only just a small sign that advertises the fact that it's there, but there's a lot of history from the region in that Pioneer Park, free to go and view before it all slowly rots away in the outdoors. And so Max mentioned as well, which goes to sort of what you were saying there, and O'Malley, strange as it seems, most refreshment stations in the country areas were the only licensed premises in the town. So basically when the train would arrive, the bar was open, and it wasn't just popular with passengers, it was also popular with some of the locals as well. Sorry, I meant Karoonda when I said it had so many branches. Yeah, Alawoona is pretty much out there, and there's not much left there these days. There is some remains of a platform and stuff out there, but it's quite astounding just how much was there. I wasn't able to get images of the old Alawoona station and its facilities at the time. Sometimes these images are really hard to find. So that's an interesting segue to the Quorn project. I spoke to Jeffrey Noddle Justice, the last station master at a lot of stations around the mid-north, including Quorn, and we're going to work together on a bit of a spoken word image project for YouTube. And he's got me in touch with a bloke named Murray Billett, who's a lot of his work is archived by the National Railway Museum, so I'll be able to get in touch with him. He was a huge railway photographer back in the day, and particularly I think some in this period where essentially a lot of images, well, all the images are copyright effectively, and you need a permission or license to use them, so that will be cool. Now, I have to find what I did with JK. There we go. JK went out to Roto the other weekend and blamed me for it too. So I'm going to load. I have to load this gallery in. I wasn't quite prepared. Let's load another image slideshow in. Call it image slideshow 2, and we will find the folder. Where did I put it? Is it on the desktop? There we go. And we'll just chuck that in there, and up we go. Yeah, well, I think, if I remember rightly, that's what Max said as well. It all kind of collapsed in the 1970s. I was born in the 70s, so I never saw any refreshment rooms. I may have seen the remains of some refreshment rooms, but I doubt it. I certainly don't remember any as well. So here we are now out at Roto, which is in far west New South Wales, just not far north of Hillston on the Sydney to Broken Hill line. Yeah, looks like beautiful weather that day. So we're just going to go through. Why have I only opened up one image? Oh my god. Let's go in and edit that. Delete that. Add the whole folder instead. And we'd be good to go. To get these streams right, even if you do have a stream deck and stuff like that, actually does take some time. Oh, now it's on autoplay. Great. Let's put it back to manual. I've heard that before, O'Malley, about women's sitting rooms and stuff like that in railway stations. I can't remember which one. Might have been one on the Victor Harbour line or something like that. Had the women's toilets were built separately to the men's toilets. You could only access them through the women's lounge room. I think everything was, I guess, quite proper these days, especially in public spaces like the railways. Maybe they should try that these days. Might be a bit safer for women. But yeah, it's very interesting. There were men's and women's only rooms at some of the railway stations. And change at Bridgewater to the Tail and Bend mixed. Yeah, cool. Oh, that's interesting, John. So I wonder if that's the original refreshment room that's now operating as a refreshment room. That's worth following up. Thank you for that. This is why I always learn so much more from the chat room. It would be really good to go out and do Western Victoria. It's on my list, actually, on Mike's big list of videos, to go out and do lines like the Patchawallock line, I think it is, the Moringa line, and the Mount Gambier to Portland line is one that I also want to do. So I'll hit you up next year when I do get around to doing those. I may do one of them later this year. We'll just see how we go. There's been a lot happening, and there will be a lot happening over the next few months as well. I've actually just fired some shots at work that may mean I have more time on my hands in the next few months, which is not a bad thing, because this outdoors thing is what I'd rather be doing, that's for damn sure. So, yeah, here we are. We're just going to scroll through because there's 30 images here. Carpolac. Now, I'm going to write that down because I haven't heard of the Carpolac line. This is why I talk to you guys, right? Carpolac. Let's find one of these. Don't you love these multicolored pens and you just have to find one of the colors that works and you end up writing in red? Okay. You see this a lot where they took down the station infrastructure, but they never bothered digging up the slab or the tiling. And I think too, I look at all that tiling and I just think someone spent hours and hours and hours putting all those little tiles down and grouting them, and now they're just gone. Well, they're there, but the whole building's gone around it. So that would be the main line now, I'm guessing. Shame a train didn't go through at the same time. And this is the old jointed line on the wooden sleepers. G'day, Dan, how are you? Welcome aboard. Thanks for joining us. And yeah, we're learning a heap about some old railway lines tonight. It's really good. I didn't know that they'd built a brand new bridge over the Glenelg River at Dartmoor just 2 years before they closed the line. That's crazy. I guess there's lots of reasons why they get knocked down, but yeah. Someone mentioned too, O'Malley and I have been talking about the Vinelander, which now runs tourist trains to Murrayville, and I've been encouraged to, and I should actually go out there one of these days and meet this train there, but I took one look at the fares for that train from Melbourne to Mildura with special trips to Murrayville, and they're pretty eye-watering rates. It's not something anybody who's not retired with an awful lot of money can really afford to do. A bit like the Indian Pacific or the GAN, really. So there's some of the old sidings there. Love this old track with all the old engineering bits and pieces, and you just look at the continuous track on concrete sleepers these days, and it seems all a bit soulless, really. But I'm guessing it would also fall apart a lot slower than some of this old stuff. Some old good platform there. Some old sheds and stuff like that. I love that kind of stuff. I wonder whether the train drivers think about it much as they're driving past. Yeah, that's happened to me too before. Originally, when I went to Currency Creek on the Victor Harbour line, I didn't think there was anything left, and you have to do a bit of searching on a map and have to go in a bit further and to find some of the stuff that remains. I reckon I drove past a few times thinking, no, there's just nothing there, before I dug a little bit deeper, to coin a phrase. This looks like a weighbridge of some description. I think you mentioned that it was a weighbridge. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm presuming you might have looked them up just then, Max, and it's pretty crazy prices. It's not something that I could justify, but they're still running, so they must be getting the money somewhere. There's I think still a big market for luxury travel. The Moringa branch was going to connect at Pibinga. Yeah, there's a lot of connections that were going to happen over there, I guess, until they realised that it was pretty marginal country. And an outer shot there, and another shot of buried lines, and then I wonder why they left this one carriage there. I wonder if there's a story as to whether or not. I think you're right, Luke's Fishing. It's a privatisation of railways and I guess a profit-making imperative on railways, and so they would probably try and knock anything down that looked like an insurance risk or was going to create some kind of unplanned maintenance issues in the future. Hope to get out there one of these days, but I just wonder. Going back to, I wonder why sometimes just this one carriage might be left somewhere. Did someone just miss it in the accounting forms, or was it contaminated, or there was just other issues with it? Caught a train from Seymour to Melbourne. Yeah, I know these states that have the population to support railways. The trains are really cheap, and I think I mentioned last week when I'm up in Coffs in a couple of weeks' time, I'm thinking in order to explore the stretch of railway more between Coffs and Grafton. It's a very tortuous, windy, and somewhat remote from roads. It's not remote, but there's not a lot of access points to it. I might actually just catch the train, and it's $9 from Coffs to Grafton. So, and it cost me $9 to get back, which is pretty damn cheap considering. extension to the Broken Hill line. Yeah, so it's always interesting stories, I think, that are evoked by what's left and why at some of these stations. So, what's next? Thanks heaps for sending those photos through, JK. Please feel free to send images to me either via email or via my Facebook page at Outdoors Type. I love to share. I'm really embracing and growing with this sharing thing. I think it's really important to do. The other thing I was going to talk about was the USB project that I did for Jeffrey Justice Nottle. He asked if I was going to be selling DVDs or USBs of my YouTube video collection, and I was a bit floored by that. I really hadn't thought about it for some reason until then. And so over the last few weeks, I've been going through a project where I'm combing through all of my old files to try and just see how many because I think I've done 100 odd videos, right, that aren't live streams, and find just how many of the original source files I still had. Turns out I only got 45. God knows what I was doing, because obviously at some point I've uploaded a full resolution MP4 to YouTube, and God knows how I managed to lose nearly 50 of them. I've still got all the project files. I've still got a lot of the content for a lot of these, but for some reason not the final project MP4. Obviously very undisciplined, and I was surprised at which ones I didn't have. So yeah, it turns out I've got 45 original source files, and I managed to fit 39 of them on 128 gigabyte USB, and so I sent that over to Jeffrey the other week. So he's got those in full resolution to watch anywhere, anytime, I guess. And so it did get me a little bit interested in just seeing how much of my content I could fit onto that. And yeah, I do wonder if down the track it might be worth me setting up some kind of autoplay feature for all of these videos, and setting up a menu much like you would have on a DVD, and creating a few of these USBs and making them available for sale. I don't know, what does everyone think of that idea? I might actually give it a go, because I am getting queries. I have gotten more than one queries on my website, where I've done a couple of articles about my YouTube channel, and that's where these inquiries tend to come from. Yeah, mate. And so in the meantime, all the early birds, that's you, can feel free to send me a stamped self-addressed, send me a USB in a stamped self-addressed envelope, and I'll be sure to post the collection right back to you. And I'll do that for free, because I've had fun doing this project, and now I've got all 39 videos in a folder ready to go. Send me a bigger USB if you like than 128 gigabytes, and I'll fit the lot on there. Yeah, access to them anytime you like in the full 4K without all the YouTube hoo-ha. And if that kind of starts to take off, then I may consider, buying some USBs in bulk, and advertising them on the internet. Wouldn't that be fun? Now we're going to do Book of the Week, because we've been going for about half an hour now. And it's been me talking the whole time, which is astonishingly hard on the voice. So let's have a look quickly and see what I can find for Book of the Week. I haven't even thought about it yet. And I'm running out of books. I should design and sell a range of flat caps, or just get them on Temu and pretend that they're original and sell them for $49.99. Yeah, I've seen some people try flat caps. Maybe I should put some designs like this on it. Here's a book back from when I was pretty serious about writing and culture and the way that media interacts with culture. I don't want to bring up that degree too often, but that was a lot of bloody work and cost a lot of bloody money. And here's Raymond Williams is one of the big figures in discussion about culture and media and the effects that each has. So, Culture by Raymond Williams. He says on the back here, culture, until recently neglected by sociologists, is now the subject of lively and controversial sociological study. Professor Williams describes the convergence of interests and methods that has led this active phase, and himself provides a spirited contribution to the debate. He outlines a historical sociology of cultural institutions and formations, discusses the problems of analysing schools and movements which often escape conventional sociological method, and describes the means of cultural production from the point of view of cultural materialism, his own theoretical position. So basically, yeah, it was $12, and it was published in 1981, and that's when you can see it's kind of all very brown on the inside now, but I did a lot of study on this kind of stuff when I was doing media theory, and I do credit all of this study. I don't remember basically any of it, but having read all that stuff, it does stick somewhere in the back of your mind, and I think it does still come out in ways that you don't necessarily expect. I don't think there's really any way I can apply a lot of that directly in what I do, but it does inform at a very sort of base level what I do, and makes me a bit more aware of what I'm doing, which I guess is kind of why my channel is a bit different. And I'm doing what I'm doing in terms of doing this live stream, doing a little bit of outdoor stuff from time to time, because the culture that I operate within, and the culture that I have around this channel and this brand, I guess you could say, is something that I think I need to pay attention to in order to just keep building and keep doing something different that's valuable for me and valuable for an audience as well. And so, on that note, it's been a big philosophical, information-packed evening in just half an hour tonight. Oops, that's a bit too early. Let's not fade out just yet. We've got to do the 5-minute warning. So let me just check what's been going on here too, because I've been crapping on about culture for the last 5 minutes. The velocity trains in Max, I'd love to get out there and have a look. Hopefully when I get out there to Western Victoria, I'll definitely hit you up, Andy, and see whether or not we can perhaps collab on something with a bit of planning. I'm sure we can. I am hoping, we'll see what happens, hoping to have a lot more free time soon to pursue this channel down the myriad of rabbit holes that it is now beginning to open up. G'day Harvey, welcome aboard. Thanks for piping up. Any of the other lurkers, we're in the last couple of minutes now, so feel free to pipe up too. But don't forget, we do this every Wednesday at 8:15 p.m. I haven't done. Taken a lot of footage down at the Port Adelaide Railway Museum and inserted it into various videos. I just think. I do think that Kane's Trains is a better suited channel for that kind of video, and he did a really good video last year, I think it was, on the National Railway Museum, and so in a lot of ways, I'd rather just promote what Kane has done on his channel. So if you haven't already checked out Kane's Trains on YouTube, then please go and do so and have a browse back through some of his videos, because to be honest, some of the narrative and more historical and storytelling videos that Kane did were another inspiration that made me go a little bit deeper and go off on a little bit of a tangent in what I do. All respect to Kane's Trains, because that's really was one of the sparks behind what I do. And I also got to the point where I was thinking, I've missed this and I've missed that, and I didn't capture this, and I didn't get that in time. And I guess the best time to fix that is now, and to go out and capture what I can now. The best time to get started is now. The best time to plant a tree is now. Just get started, keep working at it, and see what happens. The old station, Harvey, next to the other side of Grange Station, was the old Grange Station before they cut it back. Right off the top of my head, 1980 something. Actually, no, maybe even later than that, because I can remember very, very early in my days in Adelaide, I did see a train standing at the station, virtually on Grange Road. And so it turns out everyone's been on the train to Port Dock Railway Station this week. Yeah. Choo Choo Stew, who has a channel on YouTube as well, he did a great video, a continuous long shot essentially of the journey from Adelaide Railway Station to Port Dock Station. Yes, and we all know a little bit about level crossing safety as well. Do you know what, Jeremy? I totally relate to that as well. It's a fantastic excuse to say, you know what, I'm going to go out for a drive this Sunday, and I'm going to spend 8 hours on the road away from people, because as much as I love my marketing and communications roles, it's nice to spend a bit of time just blaring out the old school jungle tracks at top volume as I hurtle along the highway. And one day I'll get back to Sydney. I was born and bred in Sydney, and so things like the metro and all the freeways they have, they're quite alien to me. So anyway, we're going to wrap it up now. That was the 5-minute warning. So we're getting pretty close to that's all, folks. I want to say thanks to everybody who's been on board tonight, especially the replayers, if you've made it this far, and all of the new people who might have stumbled across this. We do this at 8:15 p.m. every Wednesday night, so you don't need a notification. You don't need to wonder whether or not I'm doing a live stream on Wednesday night, because I will be doing a live stream at 8:15 p.m. every Wednesday night, as long as YouTube will let me. Have a look back through my videos, Harvey. There's a lot of information on things on the Rosewater line. I did a video on the Rosewater Loop a few months ago, so welcome aboard and have a bit of a browse around the channel. So thank you for coming on board, Harvey. Appreciate it. JK, as always, my producer, who always keeps me honest. At least I'm not in small screen tonight. Steve Klink, thank you for coming on board. Luke from Luke's Fishing, go check out Luke's Fishing NT and his channel. I do enjoy watching a different perspective of a totally different part of Australia, and I secretly still love fishing. O'Malley Tours 34 around the grounds, also a great YouTube channel. Go check out his explorations of old footy grounds. Andy Munro, massive on TikTok and massive on Facebook. What an awesome project that has grown and grown and grown, and we're just uncovering more and more. So just go check that out. I love it. John Wayman, thank you for coming on board. It's always a pleasure to have you on board. Grow it, make it, break it. If you're still out there, thanks for coming on board. Mr. Max Hobby, I think we've got some projects on the boil there, mate. I've got a lot to work on over the next few months. So I'm very pleased to have access to that information, also to have access to the likes of Jeffrey, not all justice. Sorry if I got that wrong. And hopefully soon, Murray Billett. All legends of railway history. Who else have we had on board tonight? History Hunter Down Under, also a cool YouTube channel. I've watched History Hunter Down Under for a long time, and like all YouTube channels, I really enjoy seeing what works for him, what doesn't, and how things have progressed over the years. So we go back to the early videos. I mean, we're going back nearly 30 or 40 weeks now of good chats that I have online, and it's really interesting to go back to the first couple and just see how young I was 30 weeks ago. Who else have we had on board tonight? Harvey, of course, and any of the other lurkers that are out there that haven't popped up tonight. Thank you for coming on board. And if you've got any other questions that come out of tonight, shoot me an email or reach out to me on Outdoors Type, or write it down on a bit of paper, and remember to chuck it in the chat next week. So until 8:15 p.m. next Wednesday, thank you everybody for joining me. We'll see you next Wednesday, and until then, peace.